Literally, how much money did you invest in this film?
Absolutely zero.
And-
I invested not one dime of my own money, just my sweat equity.
And that's that's the experiment.
That's the thing. It's like literally we go out. The whole film looks at the world of product placement, marketing, and advertising. And I said, well, why don't we get the brands to pay for it? So the whole film's actually paid for and sponsored by product placement, marketing, and advertising. And so we have, by when all is said and done, we got about 20 promotional partners that help make the film possible, that are actually going to promote the film when it comes out. They actually paid to make the movie. We raised the full budget of the film, which is $1.5 million, literally off of their sponsorship money, which is amazing. For a documentary, it's crazy.
Now, has anything like this ever been done before at this level?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been product placement on massive levels going on for years and years and years, but for a documentary, and especially a documentary to have this many partners that are going to go out and help promote the film, never. It's kind of a first.
So you may have started a huge snowball effect now for young filmmakers.
Yeah, for good or for bad. We'll see. We'll see what kind of snowball it is.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Well, that's the whole idea going into this. Is we wanted to make the Iron Man of documentaries. Like I wanted to make, this film that literally had so many brand partners, that had so many people helping to promote it, that it would become ubiquitous. Like everywhere you went, you couldn't go without seeing a hat, a cup, a shirt, anything. And so, as part of that, we're making this documentary blockbuster, a docbuster, if you will.
Right.
And so, the goal is to hopefully have them push that cart down the hill as fast as we can.
In doing this, did you discover both the good and the bad?
Yeah, well, I mean, the good is the money. The bad is the having to deal with everybody and and kind of acquiesce to certain demands. Like literally, it's meeting in the middle. You realize that it is a dance. That if they're going to pay you, they want certain things in return. Mm-hmm. Certain mentions, certain appearances, things to happen in the film. Like JetBlue with their contract, we had to do an interview in Terminal 5 in New York City. We had to do a commercial for them that actually, the top 3 sponsors of the movie, we produced original commercials for that actually air in the film.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so literally first time ever that it's a film that actually have commercials playing in the middle. That then I wrote and directed all the spots, and some of them are fantastically ridiculous, and the fact that the brands all signed off on them is amazing. But each person had different kind of goals that they wanted to kind of accomplish.
Do you find that, I guess, is it getting to the point where maybe it's too distracting?
Well, I mean, that's for me it is. When I watch television, you see people say, hold on just a second. What were you saying? And literally here's this close-up on the beverage, close-up on the glass, close-up on the shoe, the car emblem. I'm like, come on, we're better than this. We're smarter than this, And I understand that, productions need the money, and we're trying to, they're trying to make up budget gaps. But I feel like ultimately at the end of the day, we do live in a world where there are brands. People wear Nike shoes, they wear Levi's jeans, they drive Mercedes cars. I think there's ways to have those things happen in a show, just like they happen in life, where suddenly my eye isn't right on top of that piece, right on top of that can or jar or whatever it is, because that's not how we live.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the first time that I really noticed where it was getting maybe a little bit out of hand was, Biggest Loser.
Yeah.
Where they literally do live.
Well, that whole show is sponsored.
Yeah.
It's literally that whole show is a commercial. Biggest Loser turned into that, Survivor, and game shows I think are a little more. You can get away with a little bit more. Look at Price is Right. Remember Price is Right back in the day? Yeah. That whole show was commercials for products. And they would be like, tell us about it. And he'd be like, turtle wax, blah, blah, blah. And literally they would talk about the product, and then you'd have to guess the price or whatever it was. All those things. That was the best product placement ever was in that game show. So I think game shows can be more forgiving. It's in everything else where it's written into scripts and written into stories. But I think that, Biggest Loser being a great example, that now it's almost become more than a partner, having all these brands in there, that literally you're having to serve a greater need rather than just creating a great show, which I find to be very distracting.
It's part of the show as opposed to being a sponsor of the show.
That's right.
You brought up
look at
soap operas and things.
Yeah, soap operas is a great example, because that's literally soap operas were paid for by soap companies back in the day. That was where the whole origin came from, why they were called soap operas. But if you watch Project Runway, where they go so they go to the Tresemme, okay, we're going to send your models to the Tresemme salon, and all these things that are sponsored by the brand, and you go there and there's the Tresemme on the background and somebody's getting their hair teased out by the girl, or okay, we're going to go to the L'Oreal makeup booth. And so again, it's does everything have to be sponsored? Is that what it is? Just to make the shows, to meet the budget gaps, we have to do that. And I don't know, I find it to be a bit much.
Is this because are you finding the reason that this sort of thing is happening is because of, let's say, the TiVos, that people are just going, you know what, I don't want to see this commercial.
When was the last time you went home to watch a show live? When was the last time you had appointment television? You know, for me, Super Bowl.
Right.
I can tell you when mine was. The
Right.
last time I had appointment television was the Super Bowl, where I was there watching from minute one, frame one, everything that happened live in real time. Nobody else, you don't do that for anything else anymore. Like
Right.
I love Lost, was diehard for Lost. I would get home at 9:15 and start watching Lost around 9:17 because I calculated after enough times of watching it that around 9:17 I could fast forward so that by the time I got to the end of the show, I was watching almost the end of the show in real time. And so you just get through the commercials. So but I don't do any of that anymore. I can't stand it. I hate watching it. But what I find myself doing now is when I watch something like The Soup or something on DVR, is that I'll be playing it and then I'll forget that it's on DVR. And so it goes to the commercial and I'm doing something else, and suddenly I'm watching the commercials that are in something I recorded, and I'm like, what am I doing?
And then TV
and I was like, oh, they got me.
They sucked
me in. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the Super Bowl. A lot of times we tune in just to watch the commercials for something like that. Why? I would think, well, gee, if it works for the Super Bowl, why can't we be creative enough to do that for every other?
Especially like big broadcasts, like the Oscars. The Oscars has a huge worldwide audience.
Yeah,
like, why wouldn't they up the production ante of commercials in the Oscars? You think that if you're going to do something that's epic and huge, like we're going to give away the best movie awards for films this year, why not have those be like the best commercials that are happening during that time? Because it is still valuable airtime, so it would make sense.
Okay, so at the end of when the audience goes to sees the film, and at the end of it, what do you hope that they take away?
I hope that they take away that Palm Wonderful 100% pomegranate juice is the greatest antioxidant you'll ever drink.
That's right.
and I think that the biggest thing for me is I want people to be aware. What the film does a great job of is kind of pulling back the curtain, letting you see inside a world that you never get to see. I think that what it did for me is it made me incredibly conscious of all the marketing advertising that's in my daily life. That I see, when I walk out of my apartment, or when I'm driving in my car, or when I'm in my, on my computer, and all these things are like trying to get me to buy things. Not to mention film and television. And I think that just being aware is half the battle, and understanding when you're being marketed and sold to. And I think it'll change this film will change the way people look at film and TV.
Right on.
Yeah.
Congratulations. A really interesting experiment.
Thanks, man.
Successful one too.
Right on.
Yeah. Right on.
Ding.